Hello, everybody. Welcome. Yes, it is Joemccplays. He is still alive, and it's Spectral Division, and we are live for episode number 6 of the Irish Sexy Hive Mind podcast.
We should change the name just to that, Irish Sexy Hive Mind.
Just the Sexy Irish Hive Mind.
Yeah.
I would ask how to do it, but to be honest, it's something I don't care. I think you've got a bit of news to everybody. It's quite sad. What's up?
I'm down with the Rona, as they say. Tested positive yesterday for the good old fucking COVID-19. Yee to the ha. It's not nice. It's not nice. Although, to be fair, I haven't really been bad with symptoms. I've got more or less a bit of a cold and a cough. And my back's killing me. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm good. Minter.
I don't know how I've managed to avoid. I don't understand. I'm convinced I must have tested positive
Before.
without ever testing. No, I don't know how I could possibly avoid it. I feel like kind of left out. Everybody's at this party that I've never been invited to.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. This is definitely a real fun party. It's great. The worst bit is I am double boosted and double jabbed and boosted. So, what the fuck? I shouldn't be this on. I shouldn't have caught it. To be fair, it's not like I don't follow COVID guidelines. It's the whole point of my job is to follow COVID guidelines.
It actually doesn't stop you from catching something,
True, but hopefully we'll make it triple boosted.
It makes you really symptoms.
Yeah, well, that's true, which is probably why I'm getting it so easy. This is the reason I got all my stuff is because I'm asthmatic. And, it's great fun. But the funny thing is, right, I work to try and be as nondescript as possible. But as you know, I'm a COVID marshal, but I'm working at a factory. Right? I don't really care this much because I'm just not going to say the name, but I had to not do COVID duties, basically. I had to push pigs in a freezer. That were dead pigs, hung up on their yolks.
Well,
yeah, so I had to go. I was grand, didn't have barely a cough, barely anything else. Went and done that for a fucking hour, and I'll say for one, I was fucking wrecked. It's also disgusting. It was not nice. Ugh. I literally went straight home and had a shower after. Thank God it was at the end of the day. If I was not gonna go through the whole rest of that day sitting and fucking smelling like pig innards, but. Funny, then after that, I started coughing a bit more, and I was like, this is probably just my asthma, because that usually would happen if I worked myself hard. But then I literally went home that evening and tested, and I literally done the test, went to the toilet, came back, and it was just a solid fucking line. I was like, fuck. So the pigs gave me COVID, is what I'm saying. Pigs give me COVID. Either that or exercise gave me COVID. Either one's not good.
Well, honestly, I'm so tired about that. I would take a positive COVID test so that I could spend 5 days recovering in bed. And just give me COVID and give me minimal symptoms.
Just give you the easy COVID.
I will spend 5 days in bed, please, because I feel like I need it. I'm so tired.
Welcome to my fucking existence, Chief. Life is hard. It's not nice.
Yeah.
Oh God. Not good though. But maybe it is just the fact that you are playing Elden Ring non-stop, and that is what has made you so fucking tired. What are your thoughts on that?
I have put a disgusting number of hours into Elden Ring, to be fair. I got up at 6 on Friday morning.
Fuck.
Because Friday was payday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was fasting. But the McDonald's about 5 minutes from my house. So as it was down there, I went and got a McDonald's breakfast. Happy days.
Fucking mint. What'd you get?
Sausage and egg McMuffin.
Too right.
Because you get a hash brown as well and a coffee. It was ideal.
Couldn't beat it.
And then came back, played for 2 hours before work, went to work, worked 9 to 5, got home. By the time I had my shower and stuff, I started playing Elden Ring at 6 PM.
Mm-hmm.
Did not stop until midnight. So I played 8 hours on Friday, and I was so ashamed of myself.
Jesus
Like,
fucking Christ.
in the
Man.
worst way possible. I was just so ashamed in every way possible. I was just like, oh, what have I done?
Man scurries himself to bed, just completely scunner with himself. Like, why'd I do it?
I think I've put in 20 hours.
Jesus fucking Christ, already, like. That's a fucking madness, man.
And I don't say this lightly. I don't say this lightly. I think it's the greatest open world game I've ever played.
Oh,
I think it's better than Breath of the Wild. Because what Elden Ring does that Breath of the Wild didn't do is that, yes, in theory, in Breath of the Wild, you can go wherever you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, the way that they deal with the temperature in Breath of the Wild means that you are limited to where you can go unless you have like stuff to combat the cold or the heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elden Ring, the only thing that has stopped me from going through anywhere is my own not being good enough to beat enemies that are slightly too powerful for me. So
Yeah.
it's not like an environmental problem. It's not, it's just that there's enemies that are probably too strong for me that I'm too scared to face. So I then scurry away. Um, and it's amazing. It is. It is. In my opinion, it is the easiest Souls game to get into because you have that option to run away if things aren't working out, and the mini bosses exist and so they have like all these wee like mini dungeons, right? They're like kind of like combs or caves, and the mini bosses there are very they're like good boss fights, but they're like for a Souls game they're easy, right?
Yeah.
They're not that difficult. And you have a couple of, and the structure of the game is brilliant because you have those caves, then have like these castles that they're not full scale dungeons, but they're substantial in size. They're bigger than the mini caves, and you have a harder boss at the end, and it's closer to the typical Souls formula.
Yes.
And those bosses are difficult, and there was one of them that I haven't played it since like Monday.
Yeah.
The last one that I did there was one of those like smaller castles that are like pretty big, and then the boss at the end. I think they would separate tries.
Yeah.
And you've got a massive Stormvale Castle, which is the first place, is flipping huge. I spent an hour and a half going through it, and I didn't even go through like everything.
Yeah.
Those bosses are harder. Margit, who's the first main boss, he's a nightmare. It took me about 3 or 4 hours to beat him.
Oh god.
And then the first like Elden Lord, I think he's called. He took me 5 tries. So it's kind of like depends. But honestly, if you were going, oh, haven't played a Souls game, and you'd think about it, oh man, you should do it. I mean, also for a AAA game to be 50 quid,
Yeah, it's pretty good price range, like.
nice, and it's like I know for a fact I'll easily get $100 out of this, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even started the second main area. Like I'm in the world of that area, like the map location,
Yeah.
like the area, but I haven't gone to the big dungeon yet because what Elden Ring does so well is I found myself spending like 3 hours where I said I would go and do one thing, and as I was going to that thing, I spotted something over here. I thought, oh, let's go and see what's over here. I've gone over there, and then done whatever was there, and then I've gone, oh wait, what's that over there? And then I've just been distracted for like 3 hours, and I think that's what Elden Ring does so brilliantly.
Yeah. I will say now, see, since I've seen all the hype and everybody on fucking Twitter going off about this game, and after playing Sifu and everybody recommending me Elden Ring, I really want to play this fucking thing. I don't care if I'm fucking shit. I just want to play it. I feel like Sifu really injected that little bit of I want to experience this masochism firsthand, and we'll see. I want to see if I'm going to enjoy Elden Ring. If I feel if I'm going to enjoy Elden Ring, I'm going to enjoy all the Soulsborns and Sekiro. So I want to like go through them all at some point, but I think I would start with Elden Ring. I'm just waiting now to see about getting it, because I'm a poor boy. But it's literally the only limiting factor right now. I did just spend a lot of money on engagement rings and shit, so But yeah, I'm really looking fucking forward to Elden Ring. It looks so good. I've actually seen very little like negative feedback on the game. Even from those that'll say like maybe the game won't be for you, but even at that, like that's still being civil. Like I don't see people being cunts the way they can usually be with Souls games.
The biggest problem is PC performance. That's the biggest thing.
So I've heard. So I've heard a lot of things about the PC performance, but that would be like the only thing I've seen.
I have no issue with the PS5 version, none at all. And Twitter again has been ravaged by people calling for an easy mode. I watched the video of a guy getting absolutely mauled by one of the easier mini bosses in the game.
Is that the cat? Is that the cat mini boss that has the sword?
Yeah,
I've seen the video.
But he did so many things wrong, and I just couldn't help but kind of laugh at him. And maybe that makes me a bad person, but also, like, I mean this with the greatest respect. Get good, but
just get good. That's all you got to do.
It's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. But I think I haven't streamed now in a month, and I don't know when I'll stream again because work is kicking the crap out of me a wee bit. But I think when I do come back to stream, I think I will be doing a second playthrough of Elden Ring on stream.
Oh,
that's what I'll probably come back with.
That'll be good.
Because it's just in a weird way, it's really relaxing.
Getting my shit kicked in constantly is just so relaxing. So confirmed here, guys. Joe is a masochist. Let that be confirmed. I did have something I was going to say. Oh yeah, it was you haven't streamed for a month. Get good. Get good.
That's totally fair.
You need to get on meta. Do you know what you need to do? You need to go and get yourself banned on Twitch so that you can then come back afterwards after making a big uproar about it on Twitter, because this seems to be the new meta. I literally saw a tweet about that not 10 minutes ago. Somebody saying that. It's like the getting banned meta is the new one.
What I'm going to do is sit and watch a series or something on stream, get banned, do it that way, and then we come back, boys.
We'll come back stronger. They won't keep us down.
The system,
I'll get DMCA'd into fucking eternity, and I'll come back stronger.
Absolutely.
Speaking of companies that are going to go heavy in the DMCA, I just want to bring this one up quickly for the marginal demographic of our marginal demographic that will appreciate this. Crunchyroll and Funimation are now joining up. And for those who don't know, those are the two leading anime distributors in the West. Like, it's your best place to watch anime. So now it means that you're not going to need Funimation and Crunchyroll, because Funimation's going into Crunchyroll. Hey. So I just want to put that aside when you say about DMCAs, because that's what anime publishers love to do. They love to DMCA content really, really strictly in that. Probably me saying Funimation and Crunchyroll now is probably lost DMCA, but that's fine.
Your channel is screwed. Your channel is screwed. You should never bring them up.
Should never do. I've ruined all chances. But yes, so those two are coming together. So if you're into your anime or want to get into anime, go and see Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll, give me a sponsorship right now, please. But yeah, I say that as a man who's not watched any anime in like 2 months for work reasons. So yay!
Woo! Keep that up, mate. You keep that up. Good man. You keep that up.
Keep that streak going. Keep that streak going. There's so much I want to watch. Do you know what the thing is though? Anything that your camera is doing a something right now. Holy shit. But anyway, moving away from random tangential shit, the main topic of today's conversation is The Witcher 3, the father of modern RPGs. It is. But yeah, I thought it'd be good to have a nice wee discussion over The Witcher 3 from two guys who one has not completed it and the other one has barely played it. So this will be fun.
Well, I think I want to know. I want to know before we dive into The Witcher specifically.
Go ahead.
What, in your eyes, makes a great RPG?
What makes a great RPG?
Yeah.
That's such a broad question. Wasn't expecting that one. Shit.
That's the point, because if The Witcher is like, we're saying that The Witcher is kind of like the father and the greatest of modern RPGs, or is the trendsetter for RPGs.
Yeah, you need a
What
word.
what is it that makes an RPG so great? Or what makes a great RPG? Actually, is the best way to put it.
Okay, well. What makes an RPG great? Right, so particularly in a game like The Witcher's case, right? I have played a copious amounts of RPGs, from Skyrim, The Witcher, the new Assassin's Creeds, even stuff like Horizon Zero Dawn. You've got Ghost in Tsushima, maybe more action adventure, but does have a lot of shared elements.
Yeah.
Maybe father of modern RPGs, it wasn't exactly the right title to go for, but mainly in the sense where I feel like everything has suffered a Witcher 3 effect because of the things Witcher 3 does so well. As a broad overview, the things The Witcher 3 does really well, which I think ties into the RPG thing. So an RPG is a role-playing game. The Witcher 3 does a great job of that. So you start with Geralt's journey. Obviously, it's a little bit farther in than, say, if you started from the first two games, and that's its own thing. But over the course of the game, especially in those first couple of areas, you get a really good sense of who Geralt is, and you get to mold Geralt into how you want to play him. You have a lot of choice in that game, but not so much as to make it, not so much as to make it so that you're either really combed into an area or giving you so much freedom that you're basically Geralt being the blank slate for your player character. So a lot of you'll see this whenever people discuss it, such as James and that there on the pillars. He will always say, Geralt is a defined character, and every option you're given with him is just a different way. He could have still said the same thing, and it wouldn't have broke his character. Whether he wants to respond angrily to someone, whether he wants to just fight someone, whether he wants to go through with diplomacy, all of it fits in with what Geralt's character is, and it doesn't actually break your immersion, and it won't break the lore of the game. So it's a very fine line, which I don't feel a lot of games have been able to tread the same. Whenever you to go into AC Odyssey and Valhalla to a lesser degree, there very much is this sense where they try to have the best of both worlds. They try to have it like Cassandra for simplicity's sake is in a sense her own character, because she has her own backstory, and it's a fairly detailed backstory. It's a very specific backstory, should I say, and you are following a linear story, minus 2 or 3 changes at the end. But they also then want to have you have every choice under the sun imaginable to impact different things and give you so much choices. Your Cassandra could either kick a cunt off a roof, or she could, carefully talk them down, and it's just a very big, tonal shift. Compared to The Witcher 3, if Geralt was in a situation where there was some really bad cunt that Geralt is clear that Geralt does not like, it will not be a case where it's oh yeah, you can romance option him, which is the case in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, especially when you get through the Order of the Ancients. Spoilers for Assassin's Creed Odyssey for anybody who cares, but the whole true ending of that is once you kill all the Order of the Ancients, you find the last one, and it's the wife of the guy in Athens, Alanthea or whatever you call it. And you literally do have an option. The main antagonist of this game, you have the option to romance them. It's how the fuck did we get here? You've literally killed her entire order and organization, and now you can romance her. It's just such a weird fucking concept to me.
It makes sense.
Yeah, so where The Witcher succeeds, where games like that will fail, is the fact that they haven't given those characters their own agency and their own personality as a character, which allows you to work through them as a character in a sense. It's different in games like Skyrim, whenever you're going to have your very blank slate character who's literally all the backstory you know is they've come to Skyrim. That's all you need to know. You can make everything else about them. You make your own stories based upon that. So, like, as Reese says, but I do think it actually makes sense, is the RPG, the JRPG, and the Witcher style RPG, because there is a very clear difference between something like Skyrim and something like a Witcher. And I don't feel the two are comparable to such a same degree. But that was a big tangent to say that, you know, you can have a defined character that can still work with the choices, which is what that does. Another good thing is, you know, your leveling system and your skills system, giving you a broad range of way to, like, either make builds, make it so you can, again, it's all about making yourself the character, in a sense, or being able to roleplay as a character. So The Witcher 3 does this as well. You have all your Witcher gears, you have all your different spells, skills, unlocks, and that there, which can allow you to spec into a variety of different ways, whether you want to just be straight up just sword slashy boy, or if you want to use a lot of your magic and your signs, you can prioritize for that. If you want to be tanky, if you want to be agile, if you want to use alchemy a lot more than you need to, you know, all those are viable options, and they're also, you can get by without having to do those. There then also comes in the story and that there, which obviously is pretty good in The Witcher 3. I will say it can have its issues at times. It drags in areas, it speeds up in areas, but overall, like, there's a very solid through line of the story. Everything's acted well. They put a lot of care into side stories as well as the main story and have them truly tie in a really nice way. Which this is the Assassin's Creed Odyssey bunking section, but I feel like it's one of the most easiest things to go into. But like in Odyssey, there's a lot of side quests that are just meaningless. And this is true for a lot of modern RPGs, not even just those. Like, you see this nearly everywhere now, where you have side quests that are absolutely pointless, that they're just boring things, no story. You're just going to collect A, B, and C. Where The Witcher 3 will actually give you at least a reason to why you're doing the things you're doing. Like, you go Witcher contracts, you'll have a little cutscene before you get do your thing. There'll be specific circumstances for each one. It's not all just copy and paste. Go here, kill 5 wolves, come back. You know. So I feel like those are the main important things that The Witcher does right that a lot of other emulators of the formula seem to just not have grasped and are not able to fathom and put into their own games. Not to say that it's easy to do that, but it's just something that a lot of companies have failed at doing. They see The Witcher and they just want to be The Witcher without being The Witcher.
Witcher 3 specifically is iconic.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, personally. We've established that I'm a fake gamer, and therefore my opinion on anything doesn't count.
Which is true.
But the reason I struggled was just because of the sheer size of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if I ever do play The Witcher 3, I need to play it by myself, but I also need to approach it very, very differently.
Mm-hmm.
I also think I don't think combat has aged very well in that game.
Mm.
For me, when I played it, it just felt clunky and boring. But I hadn't made any kind of progression into like your signs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd never got into the habit of using those.
Yeah, which is fair enough. Although I wouldn't fully agree that the combat hasn't aged well or is wonky per se. I said there's a lot of other things I will say do have a bit of wonk with age, like the horse riding mechanics and the walking about. You know, obviously that's going to be better in more modern games than it is in the older games, but the gameplay did click with me, and I don't know what this is, but it is very different from a lot of other games. I think at the start, you know, it's very segmented in a sense. You know, there's a lot of, you maybe have to go into a menu and equip your potions or your oils to really like utilize the system fully. And there is a bit of jank in terms of like the way like monster AI, enemy AI, and stuff like that. There, it does get better as you go on because I feel like, especially in the opening area of White Orchard, there's nothing really there that's like probably suited to suit the world doesn't suit the gameplay in such a good sense. I feel like once you get into other areas, you are getting a lot more nice flat areas where you can utilize your things even when you're in caves and that there. The caves are laid out in such a way that you can, use your roles, use the agility that comes with being a Witcher. But definitely at the start, there is very much a sense of, like, there's so much here, how the fuck am I doing this? But
there's probably an element on my end too of not going to combat. So every game, not every game, but most games, the combat is something you have to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first few hours, you really have to think. You're constantly you're always looking at what you're doing, or you have to really think about it rather than be unconscious. To the point where then, whenever you've played that game for 20, 30 hours, you don't even think. It's just like you've taught yourself, like it's muscle memory, how you play that game. If you think like Jedi Fallen Order, for example, you first play that game, you really have to kind of think about it and be very precise. To the point where towards the end of the game, that still exists, but because you're so trained on it,
there's a lot of it that'll just be clicking into you as well.
It just flows very naturally.
Yeah,
I know I did. When I played Witcher 3, like I don't want to sound like I only played for an hour and stopped. I think I played for like 6-7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I did like a lot. I had just finished the tutorial area, I think, but I'd done like a whole pile of like side stuff as well because I wanted to try and. I don't want to just do like mainline. I wanted to like go into all that stuff. I think that I played it. I think I'm sad that I've played other games that were worse beforehand because things like question marks on a map marker and things like that I associate with negativity.
Yeah.
Because I played games where question mark is one of three things and it's recycled content over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I saw question marks and I was like, oh, frig off.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, I've heard that the side content in The Witcher 3 is probably some of the best side content you'll ever play, which has recently has only ever been rivaled by Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Tell me all. Tell me about side content. Why is it so good? What makes it, basically.
Right. Whew. Okay. So side content, and like as you say, I think this does come from a place of every game you sort of like recently played of that similar sort of style before The Witcher 3 went across this wrong way of like every question mark is literally just a bandit camp or some shit that you just have to go do X, go in, and doesn't come into things again. Where The Witcher 3 I feel shines is you can really immerse yourself in that world. You can really like take White Orchard for example. When you go through White Orchard, I do think they maybe throw too much at you at the same time, but you can go to White Orchard and you're given, the main area with your main objective. You can just go and straight do your main objective. That's fine. Yeah. Although you are incentivized to go and do some side content. So side content, especially in White Orchard 2, can be a little bit sparse, but even so, going through, you can go to the board and you can get your Witcher contracts or random little side quests. For a good early game example, you have the blacksmith who was burned down, had you couldn't buy anything off him, he didn't have any stock. Yeah. You had to basically go and find out what happened, who burnt down his place, and fix it out. It's a very short mission, but you're given this context beforehand. You go and you find the guy, you find what's happening. You can either go through, and you have multiple ways of going about getting the guy. So I used Quen because I'm a magical boyo, but using that there, you have to then walk that guy back. You get this little thing. The guards come, explain the whole situation of the story, and you basically he gives you good rates on gear. He gives you good things there that early game. So then that solidly goes into working how the blacksmith system works, and how you'll get new weapons, and how you can buy new weapons and buy materials, fix your current gear, diagrams if you have them. Then through these different Witcher contracts, you're going to be sent to different areas of the world, so it really doesn't just have you go to question mark at the start. What I'll do is I'll say, right, there's a quest over in the neighbouring town, but the neighbouring town's abandoned. So you go, that neighbouring town was a question mark, but obviously now you go there, it doesn't become that.
Yeah.
You can go and explore that area. You have to clear the area out for people to move back in, and you have that first sort of mission with the Wraith, and it has you explore and do investigative stuff as a Witcher and preparing yourself up for the fight to come. And I really like that aspect where it's like these question marks aren't just bandit camps and shit. You could be rescuing an abandoned village. You can have Stones of Power, which gives you buffs. You have dungeons and stuff, which gives you better gear. Like there's a lot of incentive to go out and do it, and those early moments in The Witcher really teach you to do that. And then that continues on through the rest of the game. Like I remember whenever we were in the Velen section of the playthrough in that there, Velen is a very big area, and it's a very big area right coming out of White Orchard, but should be the next one that you go to. Once you sort of like get established in whereabouts you are and get your sort of foothold on what's happening, you can go out, do your Witcher contracts, you're sent to all these cool little different areas, and you'll see different question marks coming up, and you'll always want to explore them, for you always know there might be some cool gear around here. There might be another boss fight. I might be able to it's not, they don't always have that linear quest design either, so like you can maybe go to an area, find a bit of a stronger monster, kill that monster, go back to town, and there'll be some person like, oh, you killed the fucking beast, here mate, have some payment for it. So it doesn't always have to have you where like other games will have you go to Bandit Camp A, kill out the 5 guys, and you've just done that on your own. You go to the next town over, and they'll say, oh yeah, there's this really cunty bandit over in the camp you just cleared out. Obviously they don't know this, and they say, can you go kill him for me? And you're like, yeah, sure. You go. Yeah, I already have, but you have to go back, and it's like this new enemy that respawns in. The whole camp gets sort of cleared, and it's like, there's no level of continuity here, and that's your immersion broken as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So I feel like that's a large part of it as well. Once you go into the other missions as well, especially like Velen and Novigrad and that, or Novigrad specifically, you have a whole different side quest where you get to talk to Dandelion and get to know him a lot more. You have Triss and her whole side quest, which gives you a lot more insight into what's going on with her and the story there, which all flows into the main sort of quest line of that area, which is what the fuck happened to Dandelion and that for Ciri to disappear again.
Yeah.
Then when you go into... Why have I forgot the name of it? What's the third area? Skellige. Once you go to Skellige and that there's like a whole big ass side quest to do with the royals there, and I'll try and keep it all light, but because you have to go and you have to help out different family members of the royal family or whatever they are, the tribes. But it's like a real proper big side quest, full cutscenes, everything sort of ties into your main quest as well, because it'll get you different bonuses later on. Like obviously at the end of the game there's a big sort of team up section, and if you haven't took the time to do a lot of these side quests and that there, you're gonna have nowhere near the same amount of people if you didn't do the side quest compared to if you did just take the time to go through the world and do what Geralt would do and talk to his friends and his allies, which I feel was a really nice change from other games which don't do that.
It's interesting because obviously earlier I mentioned like recycled content.
Yeah.
Open world games have to have recycled content. You can't ever expect an open world game. And the comparison I'm going to use now is I will talk about Elden Ring in this fashion just because it's an open world game that has recycled content. However, the way there are 0 map markers. What's really refreshing is, let's say, like for example, there's like there's like loads of different ruins throughout the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go explore the ruins, and there'll be enemies there. Then there'll probably be a set of steps to take you downstairs. Then you go downstairs into a cave room. Then in that room will be like another set of enemies. So like one of them there was rats, and another one there was 2 like harder enemies. And then you open the next door and it's a chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that doesn't make it boring is that I found those ruins by myself naturally when I was out in the world.
Yeah.
It wasn't me putting a way marker to an question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Then it'd be like, alright, that's like the same one as the question mark I did 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Right? And also the ruins are right beside each other. So it's not like you go to a ruin and then 2 minutes later you go to another ruin, it's the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like another thing that I don't like, and I don't know how The Witcher does this, and you can tell me, but I've played too many games where I don't think this is true for The Witcher, so correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it's true. Like some games where they force you to do side quests because your character isn't leveled enough to do the next main mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, can I please just do the side quests when I want to do the side quests?
Yeah.
You know, like, well, how does Witcher tackle that balance between like what level your character should be for a main mission and like side quests and stuff?
Right, so I haven't really experienced this, right? I haven't experienced this in the game, but I have done a lot of side quests. I think something important to remember here is, with The Witcher, it came out before a lot of these other games that we're discussing here. So, yes, there is a bit of a grind catch-up if you were doing no side quest at all, and you were literally just streamlining story to story to story. Saying that, it wouldn't be by much. Like, just you having the extrinsic motivation to go and do like, oh yeah, I think I'll try. I want a few of these Witcher contracts. That'll be pretty cool. Or oh yeah, I want to maybe get this Witcher gear. That'll be pretty neat. You can go through and do that. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of areas of that game where you're not going to want to go and explore a bit first before you're going to do these main missions. And I think The Witcher expects that of you. Where in games like, say, Odyssey and that there, you could be doing exploring for the entirety of the game and leveling up in every area as you go. I know Odyssey's not like my catch-all here, but it's the clearest example I have in my head.
Or Origins to extend it as well.
Yes, Origins has this as well. There's a big jump from what section is it? Is it when you go to Alexandria and then one of the 4 targets after Alexandria? There is this. Yeah, so it's like you can go to like obviously those both of those games are into their specific areas that are level. Get it? If you go through the area that you're of level in, and you go through and you basically do every mission that you can in those areas, find most of the stuff, you will be barely scraping the surface of more mainline quests to do. Even especially in Alexandria, like they don't have it that you'll have different missions appear when you're of the right level. They'll have a level 20 mission when you're level 5, and it's like, the fuck am I meant to do here? Like, it literally just takes away the content from you because you know you can't do it. Where, especially with The Witcher 2, I feel like there's... Or The Witcher 3. I said The Witcher as well.
Yeah.
With The Witcher as well, like, there is a whole bit of, like, you don't need to be the level to fight a lot of enemies. Like, there's many a time in that game where I went through, and it's been a harder fight, it's been a longer fight, but I'm able to go through levels that are, say... or go through missions that are like level gated, maybe be 4 or 5 levels above mine, and it's not a big issue. Like there is an extrinsic motivator there to do side content in the fact that like you're always not going to be the right level. You'll maybe a couple under, but in saying that, it's not we're like in the Assassin's Creed and that it's completely impossible to do higher tier missions at a lower level. So there, as I say, there is a motivator there to do them. But at the same time, it's just not what these other games have then went and done. I think that's explained that concisely. Yeah. I tried there.
That's exactly why calling the father of modern RPGs is actually appropriate, because a lot of these other modern RPGs have followed and haven't done it as well. They're like, I think what those other games are a victim of is take big inspiration from The Witcher 3.
Mm-hmm.
In order to not be the same, they try and do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever something has already taken the best ideas.
Yeah. I do think there is a big suffrage to that, but at the same time, there also is a state of people are seeing that formula and being like, we can do that formula and we'll still make money.
Yeah.
I think that's very noticeable in stuff like Assassin's Creed and that there, where it's like, they see loads of side content and they think, oh yeah, we'll add in loads of side content, we'll add 50 million fucking bandit camps, we'll add in useful storylines, we'll do things that cause complete tonal shifts in our narrative. And I think that's fair. Where The Witcher 3, whenever it does it, that game was made that they had these really cool ideas and stories, and obviously when they went and put those into the gameplay, they had that all work with each other instead of different things working against each other. Like if you went through the main story of it, AC Odyssey, that probably isn't a bad story. It's alright, you know, but you're getting this jarring fucking whiplash from the fact that you can go and do this series fucking story for 5 hours, then you have to go for another 2 hours and level yourself up doing random stupid meaningless content. coming back, another 5 hours, go off and do some other stupid stuff. And it's this cycle of repeat where in The Witcher you don't have that. Like you are constantly working towards the goal, finding Ciri, and that is your whole. Especially for the first part of the game, that is the big free point. Even when you are doing side content, it's like, well, yeah, I'm doing Witcher contracts because I need to make my money. I need to get better gear to go to the next area to help Ciri, or we're doing.
Like a realistic thing.
Yeah,
we're talking about it being like a role playing game.
mm-hmm.
So that sort of thing that kind of comes up in my head is like, does The Witcher 3 have level scaling?
Does The Witcher
enemies?
I believe it does. I think it does. I'm gonna double check that. But oh god, I just removed your face from the equation here with the mail button. Press the wrong button there. Sorry. Censoring you. I'm just censoring you. But I'm pretty sure it does have enemies that will like scale up to your level to an extent. I think. Anyway, 1 second. Or maybe it doesn't.
I feel I am not the biggest fan of level scaling, just because most games have level scaling, so it's a personal bugbear of mine.
Mm-hmm.
That like, this is my character. I've gone from the equivalent of being like like a newborn at the start of the game, and now he's got like all the powers ever. It doesn't make sense that the enemies at the start of the game
I can destroy you at the end. Yeah.
I should be able to touch you. I should be able to poke you, and you'd be dead. Like
yeah.
It's that kind of like you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's a gripe that I have with level scaling in all games in general,
which is
not just
true.
Personal.
But yeah, so I just checked it there. So The Witcher 3 did not initially have level scaling, and it was added in a later patch as an option you can turn on if you want to play it. So they did. I think they did it right in that sense. There's people that will want to go back to these opening areas higher leveled to have a challenge, but there is a lot more people of your thinking that would prefer the realism of you've obviously started this game in this opening area. The enemies are say 4 or 5 hits. That's fair, but by the end of the game you could probably one shot them and so that does carry through.
If I've taken the time to grind my character to be slightly over leveled, I should be rewarded for that. Like, for example, it's like you go and do. Let's say you went and did all the side stuff in is it White Orchard? The area is called.
Yeah, White Orchard.
So if you went and did all the side stuff and all that before you then went to the next area, you as a player, if that's what you decide to do, should be rewarded for doing that.
Yeah.
By your character being able to beat enemies slightly easier than someone who just does the mainline stuff.
Yeah. And that definitely falls through for it as well. For I noticed, especially when I did a lot, because I did do that for White Orchard, and I noticed when I fought the Griffin at the very end of that, I just tore through that Griffin. Melted itself.
That should be your reward.
Yeah, and that was my reward for doing that, which is something that Witcher 3 also does right, so proving my point even further through here. Yeah.
And then, I think the thing I really want to talk about the longest when it comes to just games in general, but also like these modern RPGs, is we live in an age where the stories that are told by games are some of the best stories told in any form of media, right?
Yes.
And I know Witcher 3 tells an excellent story.
Mm-hmm.
Which other open world games don't like. Breath of the Wild has a story that lasts about 25 minutes. Breath of the Wild is praised to revolutionise the open world genre in different ways, but The Witcher 3 as a modern RPG is probably one of the best stories.
Yeah.
For that type of game, I mean, would it be fair to put Horizon Zero Dawn as a modern RPG?
I think it nearly would. Would be.
It nearly would be, and it is a super story. Although the side content often I think lacks. Certainly in Zero Dawn, I haven't played Forbidden West. Like in Zero Dawn, the side content lacks because Aloy as a character has pretty much zero emotions. But what the story that The Witcher tells, is it a compelling story? Is it you haven't finished yet, have you not?
I haven't finished it. I know how it ends. I know everything that happens in it though, and I know
Okay.
I've been overexposed to Witcher 3 before I ever got into it, which maybe didn't. Maybe wouldn't. You'd have thought that wouldn't have helped me playing it, but it fucking did. Made me enjoy it more. Clearly. Yeah. So I get what you're saying. So like, there is in The Witcher 3. That is one thing I will say they do very well. There is a lot in The Witcher 3 that can be seen as downtime in that, where there's not going to be vital story content happening in your side content, but you're still going to have like proper stories, and you're still going to have these nice little areas of respite, which is something a different thing that a lot of them don't do. Especially modernly, they'll either have boring shit that has no story and no connection to anything, or you can have these really nice little stories or side quests and that there where you're going on a little mini adventure basically. Other than that, a lot of the side content, again, rolls into your main content. So you have your whole side quest is dandelion interest in that there, which you choose to do will benefit you later on in the game, compared to if you don't do those. Or when you find another Witcher and you have to help him... Is it Lambert? I think it is. But I think it's you find Lambert and you basically help Lambert with a contract, and then Lambert will help you out later. Where these things will roundaboutly come back to help you. Where there just isn't a lot of that, especially in stuff like Horizon. Like, I think Horizon's a brilliant game and it's great gameplay, great story. And all that, but
COVID's got him.
COVID's got him. Oh god, I was really debating whether or not to do this tonight, but I decided to go for it. My COVID's just getting worse as we go here. But yeah. So The Witcher or Horizon Zero Dawn, definitely because I haven't played Forbidden West either. Sad face. There is definitely this thing where the main story is your main bit, and everything outside of that is fun to do and is really interesting, but a lot of it doesn't tie into definitely not the A plot of that story. But at the same time, I don't think it's trying to, in a sense. A lot of the side stuff in Zero Dawn more ties into the B story. The B story being the old ones, where the A story being the more in time of now. Type of stuff, but that just doesn't go into it very well and doesn't give a lot of opportunity for Aloy to express a lot of emotion other than...
Oh, that sounds really difficult for you. You should go and clear out that enemy bandit camp.
Yes. But, yes, The Witcher 3 definitely does have a lot more of If I die, this is my testament that you better make me viral after I die. What was that?
Said oof.
Big oof for me. Oof! Oof! God, this is really sort of went off a bit. I can't remember where I was at. Where was that?
You're just talking about side content in games. About stories in The Witcher. In the side content.
Yeah, so a lot of what The Witcher does right is it definitely has all the side content tie into the main content, or it does follow a wholly different narrative, but it still has a fleshed out story, which is just something we haven't seen a lot of nowadays. Like, to bring it back into it, but I feel like that's what a lot of Ghost of Tsushima does right, because Ghost of Tsushima's every bit of side content you do in Ghost of Tsushima has some type of wee story beside it. Whether that's working with your allies to proceed with their story content, which it lets Jin know more about them, you know more about Jin, you know more about that there. You have the Mirko side content, which is free missions that I feel like if you didn't do those, you're losing a lot of the emotional weight of Jin, especially when he's doing his poisoning and stuff, and you see, all his bits of his life decline. Then that as well, you also have these other really cool, like the mythic quests and that there, which don't tie into the main story of the game to such an extent, but you're getting to see these more like these myths, these legends. Oh fuck, these legends and that. You're going for your own little legend to get them, which I think is really interesting, really cool. There's very little parts of that game that isn't, proper content. It does suffer from the same thing too, like. The fox dance and that there. Fox dance are great for the first fucking 25 odd you do, but once you're on the 400th, it gets a little bit annoying.
Yeah, I do think Ghost of Tsushima as well, to an extent. I think whenever is there maybe 4 characters and 9 side missions, I have the platinum for Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
It's flip. It's a joke. It's so easy. But I was kind of like, I really just liked the gameplay, so I was okay doing the side missions. I don't think I think there are some side missions that are vital. I think there are also, I think some of those character ones do suffer from like being a bit repetitive at times, especially like you'll see similarities between like maybe a quest 3 of one story and then quest 6 of another will be similar, or each character teaches you different things. So you have one of the characters has a lot of archery side quests, one character has a lot of stealth side quests, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think, but again, you're right. They all have their own self-contained story.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good stories actually. They're not terrible.
Yeah. Definitely. I will agree with that point though. A lot of the Ghost of Tsushima side stories and stuff they do suffer from a bit of bloat, which again is something I think we need to maybe have be. That is a sort of a staple of RPG stuff, but like as we say, a lot of it can be repetitive, and that is what it is. I think they did that purposefully so that you could realistically with what those stories have, you could probably complete them as soon as you unlock them. But to sort of like artificially stop you from doing that and have it still go in line with what Jin's story is, so you can still have a bit more of narrative movement. They have them be relegated to these to the sort of different islands is when you unlock each sort of section of them. Because I noticed that at the start, especially with like the Ishikawa quests, I found them to be quite repetitive. But I think that maybe just come from the archery as well. Me not being as big a fan of it. He's the archery guy, so.
That's like that loop of like more doesn't always mean better, right?
Definitely.
And we've seen, I think Valhalla is probably the most recent example where the main story alone was like 60 hours long, right? That's like, let's put that into perspective. That's like 20 end games.
20 end games, Jesus Christ.
End game is considered a long movie. So if you're playing a game that's 20 times that length, there's got to be a point where you're just going to be kind of taking the piss. Like I know you're trying to give people their money's worth, but like that's ridiculous. And I don't know much about Cyberpunk. Do you know much about Cyberpunk?
A passable amount, I would say.
The side stories in Cyberpunk to the same kind of level that Witcher 3 did side stories, because obviously the same company, so I'd be interested to know if their philosophy was the same going into Cyberpunk. Well, obviously it wasn't, because Cyberpunk's a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, like, story-wise.
For what I know, I don't think so. I do think they maybe take a more of a Ghost of Tsushima-esque approach, where the side stuff, some of it does tie into the main story and that there, but I feel like a majority of it is more just their own like little side quests type of thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there's a lot more just unfinished stuff in Cyberpunk. Like I think Cyberpunk is one of them things where it's just unfortunate of how many promises were made that couldn't be delivered upon. And I feel like, say, if those one, it wouldn't be the same game, and I don't think it's maybe fair to say about Cyberpunk, because Cyberpunk has so many issues. Where The Witcher 3 was obviously they had time to do this game, they had time to do it right. You could tell that. Where Cyberpunk just like the story of Cyberpunk, I don't even feel is a wholly finished product from what I've seen. Compared to even to talk about Cyclone, I feel like it's so low down the bar, it's barely worth even discussing.
No.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I only know a limited part, but from everything I've seen, it just seems like yes, they are their own little limited side stories, but it goes through that sort of stage of it's mainly shooting galleries. There's not a lot of diverse content.
I'll be interested to see what this Witcher 3 next gen update brings. Like there'll be enhanced graphics. Not like obviously it won't be like perfect, but it'll be maybe close to a remaster level.
Yeah.
Maybe, or that kind of thing. I'd be interested to know, because or would they make? Well, they wouldn't make any changes to gameplay. I'd just be able to see what it looks like.
Yeah, it'd be really cool to see it like really spec'd out, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
That'll be the one thing I'm
I
sort of
think
looking forward to.
like I can't contribute to the Witcher discussion because I haven't played it really, and I didn't like what I played, and that wouldn't fit well with the narrative of it's like the father RPG. And I just thought, you know what, it's crap.
Yeah,
You
but
know
it's
what,
crap, man. It's crap, man.
I can really talk about what I knew, and what I knew from, again, let me explain again to people who don't know, maybe this is the first episode they listen to, my gaming background when it comes to like Sony or Xbox only began maybe 2 years ago, really. I haven't had the opportunity to play loads of these other RPGs, open worlds, those kind of things, because a lot of RPGs now are open world games. It's kind of like often an open world game and RPG are the same category these days.
Yeah.
And that's been the trend for a while now. Is that the point where sometimes like games that aren't open world are like really given a hard time for not being open world. Although that's starting to change now because people are tired of open world.
Yeah.
It's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Like in my experience, Origin's not my first real insight into a modern RPG, and I got frustrated by the fact that I didn't progress the story when I wanted to, but also I got frustrated because in Origins they have those like many targets you can face that you can kill.
Yeah, the ones that sort of don't like have any content beside them.
But there's one in Alexandria that's higher level than you, right? And I didn't know that it was going to be like a massive thing, so I tried to kill him and got wrecked constantly, right?
Yeah.
So then I waited until I played along the game and leveled up. The problem then was that my assumption would have been that, okay, I'm now level 30, he's still level 10, so I should be able to literally just one shot, no problem.
Yeah.
But because of level scaling was a tough fight still.
Yeah.
I don't mind a tough fight, that's not the problem. But the problem is that if we're talking about an immersive experience, that takes me completely out of it.
Yeah.
It's, it's not, it's obviously realistic to a real life sense that you should be able to kill someone easily all the time.
Yeah.
But if my character is 20 levels above other character, it should be a contest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that the RPG games we haven't mentioned are the Souls games. The Souls games are RPGs by definition because you choose your starter class and you can do whatever you want with your character from there.
True. Which, yes, they are role-playing games, but I don't know. I think there has to be a distinction made, though, between an RPG and an open-world RPG. Because this is the thing that, like, Dark Souls, especially everything up until Elden Ring, those are RPGs, but they are action-adventure RPGs. They're not open-world RPGs.
Well, yeah.
So there is a distinction made there where, not to say it's been easy, it would have been easy in that there, but Dark Souls definitely had a lot more where they can sort of keep a good leash on the level scaling in that they can have it that you are basically able to sort of continuously go, compared to there is a problem in open world formatted games where you can't go into just these high leveled areas and just destroy everybody, and then you have the level scaling issue, which is its own separate thing. But I think that's another reason why I really like The Witcher 3, to go back to it, is the fact that, like, the way they have it set out is you're not really going to go into the higher level areas unless you really are just going to go for it. There's no narrative reason to bring you into higher tiered areas until you're ready for them, which I feel like I wouldn't even say The Witcher 3 is a big world, say, because I think it's just a very dense world. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to do around all the areas.
Yeah.
Where you have stuff
I've
like...
heard that before.
Huh?
I've heard that said about it before, like it's very dense rather than being, like, huge.
Yeah.
Scale.
Like, if you think of, like, the main areas are, like, of Velen and Novigrad, right? Velen and Novigrad... oh, fuck, God. Are maybe, like, 2 areas of fucking any of these, say, Assassin's Creed games. Or, like, that's probably, like, the entirety of the first island of Ghost of Tsushima. for relative sort of roughness of in terms of how much landmass there is. But like you'll spend a lot more time in Velen and Novigrad than you will in Siwa or fucking the first bit of Ghost of Tsushima's Islands. And that's sort of like where a lot of the difference comes in too, where a lot of these games nowadays try to go for, they'll rather be a puddle the length of a sea or an ocean, rather than being, you know, a really deep and immersive story.
Yeah. Well, that was almost a perfect metaphor there. That was.
It almost was. It was almost like I did see that off the internet. There truly are no original ideas anymore, guys.
It is. I think it's all. It's difficult to. I think it's. I don't know what your opinion is on where expectations should be as like, in terms of like what the game should deliver, right?
Mm.
But every game should deliver a Witcher 3 level experience, right? Because everything will be a masterpiece, and then what really is a masterpiece? Everything's a masterpiece. Like,
and when everything's a masterpiece, nothing is.
You almost need bad games for you to understand just how good the really good games are.
True, I think that's right, but I don't think that's what anyone should aim for.
No, it's all what no, absolutely not. It's all what anyone should aim for, and I'll say it again. The gaming industry is a disgrace in terms of how it treats its consumers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, totally. But it's funny how we look at like Witcher 3 and what it did for that genre. Ultimately, if I was to be really cynical, Witcher 3 actually brought about a whole pile of worse games after it trying to do something that it did. Do you know what I mean?
I know you laughed at that, but you do bring up a valid point. So yeah, The Witcher 3 and the unparalleled success of it definitely did bring about so many imitators that have worsened the market as we know it.
Yeah.
Although that isn't a problem of CD Projekt Red or The Witcher 3, though, that is a product of greedy consumer or greedy corporate entities seeing something good and thinking we need to do that too. You do bring up a great point as well with The Witcher. We don't always need a Witcher 3. And I definitely think that's true. So, like, going back to like Ghost of Tsushima, right? Ghost of Tsushima is not a Witcher 3. Right? It does its own thing for the most part. It still falls to open world tropes, but every open world game will fall to those. But it does something very unique where it doesn't try to have these really great cutscenes all the time and all these linear little bits. They'll have a lot of stuff where it's just the main character talking to another main character, and they'll be doing the standard sort of, yes, do you know what I mean? Da, 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 da. No facial motion, but that means they know when to really have the style come in. When not, they know to pick their moments. They're not aiming for the biggest RPG of all time. They're aiming for their isolated story of a samurai saving his island, and they can do that very, very well. Even when you go into say games like, I don't know, what's another great good game that sort of relates to this? Had a thought, or like there was a joke earlier there in chat about the Minecraft having a longer story than Cyberpunk, but to sort of take that away, to sort of go out from that, right? If you want to look at like a game like Minecraft, right? Minecraft in its truest form is a brilliant game, and that cannot be contested, I don't think. But when you want to talk, but usually like The Witcher 3 and Minecraft are not going to be in the same conversation, nor do they need to be. Minecraft has its very own thing that it wants to do. It wants to be a wee survival game. You can build whatever you want. They give you the tools. Go ahead and do it. That is what that experience is. Going to something like Sifu. Sifu is not trying to be the biggest linear fucking narrative fucking game ever. It's trying to be, this is a beat 'em up game. You should play this game till you fucking hate it and, you know, enjoy this really cool experience we've made.
Also, it's flipping hard.
Also, it is fucking difficult as fuck, yes.
Yeah.
But enjoyably so. It's sort of like the same thing with the Dark Souls, where it's not... It's mastered its difficulty. It knows, you know, why this... You'll know why the game's hard. Like,
Yeah.
You were even able to tell me in like my first playthrough of whenever I was fighting Sean, you know, you're button mashing a bit too much. You need to like pull it back, and it wasn't until I sort of like pulled it back and was able to be like, oh yeah, I just need to do X, Y, and B to fucking beat him. That I was then able to do it, and it could do it with a relative ease now. It's that sort of where you're rewarded for mastery of the combat system, which not every game's going to go for, and is its own unique experience compared to other games. And I do feel like in the industry at the minute, we need a lot more Sifus than we do need Witcher 3s.
Agree.
There needs to
Agree.
Massively agree. Like, even for a game I played recently, I played Ghost in the Shore, which is an indie title, which is, for all gameplay extents and purposes, is a walking simulator. But I really fucking enjoyed that game. They went for this really nice, sweet niche narrative that really, really worked well with that game, and had lovely looking levels for you to walk through, and that's all they needed to do, and it worked well. So I do think the industry needs to realize, like, not everyone needs to be a 60-hour plus fucking experience. Like, even like Dying Light 2, whatever Dying Light 2, you remember that the whole 500 hours to complete the game. Why that metric was ever given out, I don't know. Like
some sort of boast.
Yeah, like it's some sort of boast. That's not a boast. If it takes 500 hours to complete your game, is your game really that good? It shouldn't take that long to complete any fucking game.
It's like, what they're trying to say is like, oh, you will get the best value for your money because 50 quid will get 500 hours. So it'll cost you £1 for every 10 hours that you play, which is like, wow, what a
real value for money right there. Jesus.
But it's only money if those 10 hours for every 10 hours that you pay for it is really, really good.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I would much prefer spending, like, buying an indie game and having a really good, tight story that knows when to fucking end than a Valhalla or an Odyssey or a Dying Light 2 or any of these games that just seem to, like, want to go past their expiration date by about 20 fucking hours and think that's acceptable.
Yeah. That's probably, we've just dived into, like, a bigger problem in the gaming industry of, like, again, kind of corporate greed and also, like, lack of understanding between the corporates and then the consumers. Like, I don't think companies fully, not all companies fully understand what people want in games. I think that, it also actually brings up a bigger debate about casuals versus like diehards or like casual gamers versus people who do a lot of gaming.
Yeah, Adrian versus Joes is what you mean.
I wouldn't call myself a casual, mainly because I might not play a lot of games, but I study the heck out of, like, I read a lot of articles about games. I watch a lot of videos about games. Like, gaming is a real keen interest of mine, right?
Yeah, no, I know that. I'm only joking. Don't worry.
But I am a casual in terms of how much I play. I think, like, I play loads of games. I play a lot of big games, and I think I'm a casual in that sense, right? But I think corporates would do really well from listening to what gamers say.
Yeah,
because
such as the gaming conversations that go on the Irish Hive Mind podcast right here, which if you could share it with everybody you ever see, maybe some corporates will listen to it and we'll get some games done afterwards.
They'll understand that, like, any games worth playing ever are Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild, and that's really good. And maybe The Witcher 3 and Red Dead Redemption 2, which I've never played, but I've been told they're really, really good. Well, I think this brings a point about good comparison of, like, people improving, right? Horizon to Horizon Forbidden West. Reviews have said pretty much that Horizon Forbidden West improves in Zero Dawn in every single way, right? The side quests are better, worlds better, enemy types are better, combat's better, and the story. I would say maybe 8 out of every 10 people say that the main story is better as well, right? People have said that the side quests are on kind of a par with The Witcher 3. That's pretty exciting news, is it not?
It is.
For to have that level finally, because I don't think we've seen a game has been applauded by the masses for having the same level of side. Everybody talks about it's not side content, but it's nowhere near Witcher 3. You know, like you hear that comparison all the time. In the same way that since Breath of the Wild came out, every open world game was like, well, it's not quite Breath of the Wild. And I think nearly every single Elden Ring review I've listened to or watched or read compare the structure of the world to that of Breath of the Wild, because that's a game that set new levels, and The Witcher 3 undoubtedly set new levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Also, we haven't even mentioned this, but The Witcher 3 set new levels. What was the big DLC?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it has a DLC that like just sets new fucking tiers for how good things can be.
Yeah.
But I do think this goes into its own sort of thing too, where like you were saying about the corporate side sort of needing to see that like they need to know what gamers want.
Yeah.
Something like when you have stories say like to go for big games, so you have your Horizon Forbidden West, a game about exploring the West, and you know sort of learning more than you did in Zero Dawn. That is the premise of that game, so that style of gameplay works well. Red Dead Redemption 2, you're a gang on the run, going to these new areas, always looking for scores, always looking to survive. You go into this very much this sense of like you are constantly going to be, you know, it's that exploration is intrinsically motivated through the story as well. It's not just an external sort of thing where I want to go and see all these things. It's like internally, it's like the character would also do this as well, which I feel like when you have stuff like say like Cyberpunk and that there, I maybe like that wasn't the big driving force for it, or even like for Jin and Ghost of Tsushima. Like, is it really in Jin's character to go and explore every corner of his wee niche island that he's lived on for 20 fucking years of his life? Not really. Other than for the fact of wanting to clear some bandit camps and somebody telling him that, oh yeah, there's a guy this way, which I think that game does well, but like you need to have a character's motivation should match with what the player's expectation of the game will be, and I feel that's where a lot of these things feel as well. Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, right? The whole thing about that is like Cassandra's trying to like find you go through the whole game and like find out what the crack is basically, and find her mother again, and you know go on this odyssey as we say. But she has a clear goal in mind, and she doesn't need to go to fucking every island on the Great Coast to do that.
Yeah.
Like she's not. There's no motivation there for her to go to every bloody bit of Greece to do what she wants to do. You can literally go from Kefalonia to Athens, to Sparta, back to Athens, and like that is the game. That's where all the main things happen. Nothing really big happens outside those areas. And anything that is, you could have it be a fucking in between section. You know, there is that sort of thing where it's like there needs to be like a good expectation with the player and with the player and the character as well, which is why I think these games get applauded so well, because it still suits the characters. Like they're not under an unnecessary say time strain as well. Like I feel like a lot of open world games do that, where you're sort of limited by the fact that the character has like 2 hours to do a task, but you've spent the last 50 hours clearing out bandit camps. So
they're like, the best example I can think of is like in Valhalla whenever Sigurd gets like captured, but then it's like, oh, I must save Sigurd. Then I can spend the next 30 hours going through all the different regions without anything happening.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then eventually he goes back. Yeah, that's a good point actually.
Yeah, and then Sigurd comes back and he's like, "Why did you not save me, brother?" And he's like,
Yeah, I was actually just clearing out all the bandit camps in every other region on the map before I came to save you, because I figured if I get rid of everyone, that'll be easier. It'll be easier to save you.
Exactly.
Also had to loot everywhere while you were being captured. I've got Ravensthorpe is now maxed out, mate. If you come back here, it's massive. I even went to Ireland for a bit.
Yeah. I went for a wee cheeky trip to America, you know, just to see what the crack was over there, see if it's any good, you know. Killed Templars, re-kitted McGear out, came back, bucked your wife, went over to Ireland for a scoot, helped some redhead lass out there, came back, fucked your wife again. And then I cleared all the bounty camps and done all the viewpoints, you know? Even though I'm not an assassin, though. But I have this nice assassin garb. You know, it's... Yeah, this has really turned into an Assassin's Creed Bastion session, which I feel like every podcast goes into at some point.
I think the problem is it's too easy to do it.
It is. They made it way too easy. There's so much to dislike.
Yeah,
God.
I think that's...
I do think that's sort of like the runtime of this discussion, though. The Witcher 3 is top tier. It does what it does right. It does what it does well. And it does what it does left. Because I can't remember what the fuck I was tagging that. But
I wish I liked it. You know, like, I'm not going to bash on it because I don't.
yeah.
Like, I understand that it's perceived to be revolutionary in the gaming space, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, it's actually just straight up crap, because it isn't straight up crap. It's just that it wasn't the game that clicked for me.
Yeah.
And this goes to the Elden point. Not every game should be made for everybody. You know? Not everybody has to play the game. It's your fault that you got swept up by the hype. It's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know?
This is true. As a lot of said, I think a lot of the reason The Witcher 3 didn't click with you might have been you're coming off the end of The Last of Us and God of War.
And Horizon Zero Dawn.
And Horizon Zero Dawn. So, like, those are 3 big fucking 1 time sinks and 2 emotion sinks that you just went into so heavily to then go back to fucking... Then go into something like The Witcher, where it's like you're going from nice, very much more linear stories for the most part. So then go into The Witcher 3, which is literally just you need to go find Ciri, but like, dude, you're on Yoke, lad.
Like, just go up your horse and see what you find.
Yeah, just go and explore, bro.
Where you know what it was for me? It was just that it was quite overwhelming.
Yeah, like, which I don't think helped from like it would have been a whiplash for your brain, whether it's consciously or not, that you were going to go from.
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't be bothered to think that much. You know, like, my brain could not be arsed trying to get my head around all the little concepts that were there.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially when you're streaming it, you have to pay attention. And I wanted to chat to people.
Yeah.
And I don't like, when I stream, I struggle to be able to do both, to pay attention, but then chat to chat, and I go back to pay attention again. So I think that's where I struggled as well. I think it was a combination of a whole pile of things. To be honest.
I think it was wrong place, wrong time, and maybe in the future you will enjoy it, and that'll be its own thing. But anyway, so I think we've established that The Witcher 3 is the father of modern RPGs, for good or for bad. It has a few little things with it, but it is the base plate of what a lot of RPGs now want it to be. 100%. That is not what we need. It has been more detrimental than helpful to the industry as a whole, but nonetheless, there's still capacity for good games to be made if folk can be arsed to fucking do them. But anyway, I feel like we've wrapped up the YouTube portion of this podcast, so we'll do our nice little farewells and that there. If you enjoyed the podcast and you would like to see more of this here, you can subscribe to the Special Division YouTube channel. You can also follow myself and Joe here over on Twitter and Twitch. He doesn't stream as often as I do, but he still is some streamer for one streamer. But if you want to see us play loads of different games and have a bit of crack and talk a lot of crap on a podcast, you can feel free to come and do that if you want to join us. But anyway, guys, I hope you all have a great day. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, all of that wonderful stuff before I forget to say it. And have a good one. Peace out.
Bye!